looking at two topics now in the HR section of the course, training and appraisal. So we need to know the difference between on-the-job and off-the-job training, but really know the benefits of having well-trained employees. We need to know what an appraisal is and the benefits of appraising employees for the employee and the appraiser. So training is the process by which individuals acquire new knowledge and skills. So I think that's quite straightforward and quite obvious. You don't necessarily need to learn that definition. But why provide training to employees? So I'm going to make some notes now. Why would you do this? Well, I think whenever I'm thinking about training, I always think about the two Qs, so quality increases. So maybe if you train somebody to be able to do their job, they're able to do it better, and so you might have less waste, you might have better products or better service, products, and all of those types of factors that may make your customers come back more often, repeat purchase. Maybe they're willing to pay a higher price as well if you get a better service. I also think as well the quantity can increase, and by that I mean the output. You get more efficient, output increases. I'm not very good at spelling today, I apologise. Output increases, so you're more productive, get more done during the day because you've had training. I'm sure that's, when you've had training on some new IT software, you're able to produce more because you know all the new tricks. And I think there's some benefits as well in terms of for the the employee, not just the employer. So it can be kind of motivating. Most people want to think that want to have that feeling that they're improving as their working life goes on. And this, we could link it to a lot of motivational theorists, but I think Hertzberg and Maslow could be two that you link it to in terms of, well, Maslow, I'm just thinking about esteem needs and self-actualization. So esteem needs, I know that should come from kind of the praise that you're getting and all of those types of things, but if you're receiving training and you're getting better, then you're probably likely to get that praise, and also you're probably likely to recognize it yourself that you're improving, and all those types of things. So different types of training, there's loads of different types of training. We obviously have induction training when you start a new job and you're shown what is what and how you do things around here and all those types of things. But the two main broad types of training that we need to look at are off-the-job training and on-the-job training. So on-the-job training, as the name suggests, is learning while you're doing, and learning from experienced staff. It could be through, learn some of these terms here, observation, work shadowing, being mentored, and job rotation as well. I know Sainsbury's, actually, when you join as a graduate, they do a big sales job rotation program. So you'd work in every aspect of the business, so you get a firm handle of what the business actually is. And then off-the-job training involves going out of the business and spending a day doing a college course or a university course, and it's usually by someone who's a trainer, a teacher who's trained in that, and it usually leads to a recognised qualification. But now, these days, with more and more apprenticeships, some of the on-the-job training that you do is actually leading to a qualification as well, but you do have to do that off-the-job element, so usually on like the Friday you go into college, that kind of thing. So another matrix style question, on the job versus off the job, advantages and disadvantages. So on the job is usually a lot easier to organise because it doesn't involve an external agency, it's done internally, and your training is very specific to that workplace. So they're going to train you on the computer systems of that workplace, so you're not going to be trained in kind of general terms of things that you're never going to use in your life. So I'm sure you can remember a random maths lesson or English lesson of something and you thought, I'm never going to need this. And maybe you're right, but when you're learning on the job, you get less chance of that happening. However, the advantages of off the job are that maybe new practices, new theories can be learned and introduced to the business. Sometimes when you're just working within the business, you've got kind of tunnel vision, you're very close to new ideas, whereas if you go off the job, you meet people from different organisations, maybe you can learn from them, learn some different and better ways of doing things. And you usually get a recognised qualification out of it. So there's definitely a benefit for the employee there of off-the-job training, because that makes them more employable maybe somewhere else. Maybe it's not so good for the employer because there's more chance they might leave once they've got that. But disadvantages of on-the-job training, the trainer, it pretty much the quality of your training depends upon the person training you. So if you're teamed up with someone who's mentoring you, that's maybe not very good, and teaches you bad habits, that can be defeating the purpose, the object. Bad practice can also be passed on to other employees. The disadvantages off the job training, it tends to be more expensive than on the job, and the employee has to go off site, so there's an opportunity cost of that lost output, and you still have to pay them as well. So all in all, is training worth it? So we've got lots of nice advantages and disadvantages here. I'm not going to read through them all, but if you do want to pause the slide and have pause the video even and have a look through those, you can. Okay, on to appraisals then. So we need to know what appraisals are, just a brief overview of different methods, just so you kind of get what they are and the benefits of appraising employees to both the employer and the employee. So what is appraisal? Well, it's a formal method of assessing an employee's overall performance. They might take place every month or so. I have a formal appraisal every year, but I have kind of meetings every few months to make sure I'm on track, that kind of thing. So this is a really famous example of appraisals every week with Sir Alan, or Lord Alan. Or Lord Sugar, I think it is actually now. But The Apprentice, they go down with their tax and then they have this sort of formal appraisal. But in real life, it tends to be more one-to-one. You don't have to do it in front of other people, and it doesn't happen to be every week. So why do businesses carry out appraisals? Well, you want to review the employee's performance compared to the targets that they've set previously. This might determine whether they get a pay rise or not. I know that in a lot of organisations that does. You may need to identify any issues or concerns relating to the employee's performance. So if there's a target they've not achieved, you might want to explore the reasons why they've not achieved, why they think they've not achieved it, and outline what things they need to do to improve. And you might want to be able to identify the employee's development and training needs as well. It's maybe one of the few conversations that you'd have with your manager that's just purely based on your performance. Tends to be meetings that take place kind of on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, tend to be more about the day in, day out stuff or about strategy, but it doesn't tend to be reflecting on the performance of an individual employee. So it's a good opportunity to encourage communication, and they're meant to be two-way communication, but obviously the appraiser, the person, the manager, is giving a judgment on the appraisee, but there's meant to be kind of two-way conversation about it. So how do they carry it out? Another slide with a lot of information on here, but this is the most common one, a line manager appraisal, where there's a one-to-one meeting and it's a discussion between the employee and their line manager, and they come to some kind of judgment at the end, hopefully. Self-assessment, though, is usually used to back up the line manager appraisal, and usually what you're given before your line manager appraisal is a bit of paperwork to fill in, and they might have some targeted questions or specific questions to make you think about specific areas. So mine has on it, how have you achieved, or have you achieved the targets that you set last year, and how have you achieved it, and show the evidence, and what would you like to receive training in, and all those types of things. And then lastly, this method is used in the private sector quite a lot, the 360 method, where you either yourself or your manager can contacts a variety of sources who have dealt with you, and request feedback on the performance. So we used to do this. I used to work at Deloitte, and we used to have these like 5-minute feedback forms that you'd give to loads of different people just to gather feedback, and they were quite good, but I found that people said very positive things. Well, obviously, because I'm amazing. But, when they're just 5-minute feedback things, maybe people are a bit biased towards saying very positive things. Whereas your line manager appraisal should give you some more tangible things to work on. But this is a clip. I won't play it now, but it's from The Office, which is a great sitcom to watch. The UK version has more business studies in it, but the US version I think is a little bit more funny, so check that out. But this is David Brent doing a line manager appraisal with, I think this guy's called Keith here, and in his hand he's actually got the self-assessment form that Keith's done, and he's not filled it in very well. So benefits and, or I think it's actually just benefits to the employer and the employee. So to the employer, to the employee, you might be more motivated because there might be some recognition of your achievements, and that's from Hertzberg as well, and that benefits the employer as well because it may improve productivity. I think Mayo as well, his work on oh my gosh, I've forgotten what the name is. The Hawthorne experiments. Oh, long day. But the Hawthorne experiment showed that when managers take particular attention and pay an interest into their employees' lives and how they're doing, you too tend to find productivity increases, and an appraisal is a great method of doing that. You can also identify issues with the performance so that these issues can be resolved, hopefully, and identify people that maybe need a raise or promotion, and so you can reward those people and hopefully retain them. But you also get a chance for the employee to explain any problems or difficulties, so get things off your chest, unburden yourself, and hopefully work towards a resolution. So those are all the specification objectives for this section.